Senator, 100% of the vote sounds pretty good to me in the Democratic Senate primary.
I'll take it. Considering this, well, yeah, I mean, there weren't a lot of people running, but I think my career in terms of fighting for workers and taking on special interest is why nobody challenged me in the primary. But I didn't really expect to talk about 100% of the vote. But thank you very much, Lawrence.
So you have a son of Ohio, Martin Sheen, who does not easily step forward in these situations. Tell us about how that ad came together with Martin Sheen.
Yeah, Martin and I and Janet and Connie, my wife, have known each other now for more than a decade. Martin, I love to tell the story. He's been in campaigning a half dozen times for me, and I love to tell the story. Martin Sheen's first job was he was a caddy at the Dayton Country Club, and he was fired for trying to organize a union. So that's who Martin Sheen is. Dignity of work absolutely fits him, and he's fought the same kind of special interests we do and always devoted his life to justice. And one of my favorite moments campaigning is when Martin spent 2 days with us. The second day, back in 2012, we ended up in John Glenn's apartment for a fundraiser, and all day Martin was talking about, I can't believe I'm going to get to see John Glenn and go to his apartment. And John Glenn had told me 2 days earlier, I can't believe Martin Sheen's coming to my place. So two heroes as far as I'm concerned, in very different ways, but both of them just terrific human beings that fight for justice and fought for people who don't always get a break in life.
You know, I didn't begin this segment tonight thinking I was going to learn a new biographical fact about Martin Sheen and his very first organizing experience at the Country Club. That's a great one. So as you go forward in this campaign, it looks like you know who you're going to be running against. Bernie Moreno, what do Ohio voters need to know so that they know what's at stake in this election between these two candidates for Senate?
Well, they know that Bernie Moreno always looks out for himself. I mean, he has said in this campaign that he won't work with Democrats. He just is going to go to Washington and do his own thing. He's illustrated that by, again, calling for a national abortion ban with no exceptions, even though Ohio overwhelmingly last November voted by 13 points for constitutional amendment on abortion rights. And the arrogance of he doesn't really care what the voters want. That's really who he is, and we will make that contrast of I fight for Ohio. I listen to people. I do roundtables all over the state. That's how we helped Senator Tester write the PACT Act. That's how we got a good infrastructure bill. That's how we got the CHIPS bill. It's going to create thousands of jobs in Ohio. That's how you do this job. You go county to county. You listen to people. You come back with ideas. You convince your colleagues to pass the child tax credit. You convince your colleagues on a whole host of issues, like on the pension bill, where we saved the pension of 100,000 Ohio workers, Ohio union workers. So that's how you do this job. You don't approach it arrogantly, and I know best. I don't care that women have said that they want control with their doctors of their own health care. I know better, and I'm going to override that, overturn that. And that's really why this election, it's always, as you know, Lawrence, we've talked on the show, you've said, you've devoted your show to this in many ways. It's whom you fight for, and it's government needs to be, it's who's on your side. And that's really why I win in Ohio and why we're going to see a pretty good year this year around the country.
Now, there were indications that the Democratic Party, certainly, and not so sure about you, but the Democratic Party definitely wanted Moreno as your opponent because they believe that the more extreme the Republican is, the better it is for you, and it would have been more of a challenge for you running against the more moderate Republican. What's your assessment of what it's going to take in running against Moreno?
Yeah, I didn't weigh in on that. I didn't even know that was going to happen until it did happen. But it goes back. I mean, first of all, I'm going to have a tough race. They're going to have tens of millions of dollars. Moreno is a rich guy who inherited a lot of wealth, and he's going to be spending it in this race as he did in the primary. But I always come down whose side are you on? That's why I ask people to come to SherrodBrown.com and help us as volunteers, as contributors. We'll win this race. We'll be outspent, but we'll out-organized. We'll have more grassroots contributors. That's how I've won elections in the past. I don't see politics left or right. I see it as whose side you're on, and that means taking on the drug companies and putting a cap, as you've talked on this show, putting a cap on insulin at $35 and putting a cap on out-of-pocket costs for seniors. It means passing the PACT Act. It means passing the pension bill. It means standing up for the child tax credit, which dropped temporarily, only a year, but we'll be back with it. Dropped the child poverty rate by 40%. I learned those things by listening to people. The mother-in-law of Heath Robinson, the bill's named after him in the PACT Act, listening to his mother-in-law talk about what happened to him when he returned from service after exposure to those burn pits. And that's how you legislate. And my opponent thinks you legislate by just doing what you think you should do. And I don't think people trust that. They don't trust him on abortion. They don't trust him on ethics. They don't trust him on fighting, on taking on interest groups.
The Democratic Senate Campaign Committee weighed in against your Republican opponent tonight just about a minute after the race was called for Bernie Moreno, who will now be the Republican nominee running against you for Senate. Let's look at the ad they put out tonight.
Meet Bernie Moreno. Even Republicans don't trust him.
This is why this man can't be trusted.
I don't know if we can trust you.
Bernie would overrule Ohio voters to pass a national abortion ban.
Absolute pro-life, no exceptions.
He said he doesn't think that the minimum wage should exist.
And at the end of the day, the markets will flush that out.
And he would repeal the Affordable Care Act.
The Affordable Care Act, it actually made healthcare much more expensive.
The bill to secure the border and keep fentanyl out of our communities, he called it
Complete garbage. Complete garbage.
And he was sued by employees because he didn't pay them overtime they'd earned and destroyed evidence to get out of it.
You shredded those documents because it helped Bernie Moreno, not the employees.
To put it simply,
this is a matter of trust.
Republicans don't trust Bernie Moreno. Why should you?
What else would you like me to say?
So this is the Donald Trump chosen candidate to run in Ohio. Donald Trump has been on a winning streak in Ohio himself. So it seems to me that this candidate's going to have an awful lot of support from Donald Trump, while you have support from the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee.
Well, and I'm going to run my own race. I'm not a pundit about who's going to vote how. I know that when I focus on taking on interest groups, when I focus on what we've done to fight back against what Norfolk Southern did to a lot of people in my state with that train derailment, what the drug companies have done on overpricing. What my wife and I, almost every Sunday after church, we go to a grocery store in the neighborhood, and I see people all the time who are paying more for their groceries because of stock buybacks and because of bonuses that executives get. So people know, regardless of who's running for president, regardless of any of those punditry comments, people know that I'm going to stand up and take on interest groups. That's why, as I've done before, that's why I ask people to come to SherrodBrown.com, step up. This will be a grassroots effort. We show that every day. It's how I win elections. It's how you represent people. You don't just go to country clubs and go to Wall Street and do all that. You show up in communities, you do roundtables, you listen to people, because the best ideas, I don't have the best ideas come from people in my state, big cities, small towns, suburbs, farms. I met with a number of farmers this past week, soybean farmers, and we talked about what we can do with soybeans and actually turning into jet fuel. And I wouldn't have thought of that, but these farmers did, and we've seen the science that can happen. And there's just all kinds of opportunities. If you open your ears and listen, you can make a big difference in this job. And I don't think my opponent understands that. I do. That's why I've been successful every day working for Ohio, and why I've been successful in elections in the past.
Senator Sherrod Brown, thank you very much for teaching me something I did not know about our dear friend Martin Sheen.
Thank you, Lawrence,
and for joining us tonight on this important election night in Ohio.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put EVAC on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
So, come on, what is it now, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah. I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I'll assume that we're good on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
The Megatron.
Ambush was just a diversion. Security teams bring up. Ravage, he's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. Boss readiness. What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We're facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark craft. General! General!